Today, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the new video that RuneScape just posted yesterday. As of recording, they posted it yesterday. It's their RuneScape's March Roundup and a look ahead at April. So I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on this video. If you haven't seen this video yet and you'd like to watch it before you watch my video, the link is in the description. Just please come back, please. Also, please leave a like if you can. That really helps my channel and it shows YouTube that you like my stuff, so please leave a like. Anyway, let's jump into it. So in this video, Mod Anvil is interviewing Mod Ryan about a lot of the changes that they made in March and about a lot of the things that they're going to be changing or adding coming up in April. So that's what this video is about. And first I want to jump into the design goals for RuneScape 4. And I want to read these design goals. Maybe they've mentioned them before. I think they said it might have been in a blog post somewhere, but this is the first time I'm seeing them. So I'd like to go through these. So the design goals for RuneScape 4 are a game that's easy to understand, but still full of meaningful choice and depth, grounded with a clear identity that is unmistakably RuneScape, play because it's fun and not because you feel like you have to, and a meaningful journey no matter when you start. I love these design goals. I think these design goals really speak to a lot of the weaknesses that RuneScape 3 had, and so going into what I'm calling RuneScape 4, they're not calling it that, but I'm calling it RuneScape 4. Going into RuneScape 4 with these design goals is really great for me and gives me a lot of hope, right? Because it addresses these things that were major issues for RuneScape 3. I think everything that they talk about here fits really well with these design goals. So keep these design goals in mind as we talk about the things that they mention in this video. And I want to know, do you like these design goals? Yes or no? Do you like these design goals? Are you okay with them? Do they not affect you really at all? Are you like, I don't really, it doesn't do anything for me? Or do you think that one of these design goals or all of them are off the mark for what RuneScape should be? Let me know. So the next thing that they talked about were early game tweaks. So they were tweaking the early game, a lot of how it feels to be a new player or have a new account in RuneScape, and they talk a lot about friction points. They mention that with not just this, but with other things that they updated or that they're changing. They tried to remove as many of these unnecessary friction points as possible. So they gave some examples. They talked about how it takes less time now for new accounts to reach level 35 in most skills. And they say that it took about 6 or 7 days before, and now it takes 4 to 5 days. So I know there were some people that were like, friction points, that just sounds like difficulty in a game. You don't want to take away the difficulty. The whole reason you want your levels to go up, other than just the dopamine hit, is you want the new levels to make the skill easier and easier and easier in certain regards, right? Like as you get better at thieving, for example, because they're going to use thieving as an example later, the higher your thieving level goes, the easier pickpocketing should be. But what Jagex is saying is there were too many friction points that were actually making new players kind of bounce off those things, and we're making new players be like, this is not really working as well as it feels like it should. A lot of this is how it feels like it should work, right? And so they're working with numbers and code in the background, trying to tweak the way the game feels, the vibes of the game. There were a lot of friction points early on and in mid-game and, in late game too, but a lot in early game. So they used thieving as an example. They said the success rate for pickpocketing was so low for early game players that you were spending so much time failing that it was not really intuitive to new players. And, you might say, okay, well, but that's because you're not good at thieving yet, because your thieving is low. But I would argue, I like this change, by the way, I would argue pickpocketing shouldn't be so difficult that you hate doing it, because guess what? Once your thieving gets high enough, and I'm talking like level 35, you're not going to be doing much pickpocketing anymore. You're going to be doing other thieving methods. So if you're really only doing pickpocketing early on to get that XP, then it shouldn't be like miserable, where your success rate is incredibly low and you're just not really succeeding at all. So I like this change. That's a good example of a change that they've made, and I like it. The next thing they talk about is AFK. So Mod Anvil asked Mod Ryan about AFK in the game, and Mod Ryan wanted to assure everybody that they weren't removing AFK methods or moving away from it. In fact, they want the player to have options, either AFK or what he called lean forward options. And their philosophy is that AFK options will just reward you less. You'll get less XP, or it'll take a lot longer, or maybe you'll even get less money, or whatever it is. It's less rewarding, but it's also AFK, so you don't have to interact as much. But then the lean forward options, the options where you're actually more involved with the method itself, is more rewarding, more XP, more GP, whatever it is, the rewards will be greater. So they're not gonna move away from AFK, they are going to try to make sure there are more options throughout the game to choose either AFK or these lean forward methods. They used thieving as an example again. They admit that the first change they made to thieving went too far away from AFK in their initial rebalance. So their thought process was, pickpocketing is very rewarding with XP, and it's very rewarding with GP and items. So it shouldn't be an AFK method, because according to their philosophy, AFK methods are not as rewarding as lean forward methods. So they made it less AFK. They made it more of a lean in thing, like where you had to be more involved with pickpocketing. Well, a lot of players didn't like that, and they kind of like had this discussion with Jagex, and Jagex said, you know what, you are absolutely correct. So they rebalanced it again to make it more AFK, not as much as it was before, but to make it more AFK, but also they made it less rewarding. So less XP, less GP, to fit with this philosophy of AFK versus lean forward methods. And they actually provided a chart. So here's the chart. You can see initially it was way over here in AFK, and it was also super rewarding in GP and XP. And then when they changed it recently, you can see they basically kept the rewarding side of it the same, but they just almost completely removed AFK. It just became a lean forward method. Well, people didn't like that, so they rebalanced it again, and you can see it's leaning more towards AFK, and it's a lot less towards the XP and the GP rewards. So that's their philosophy on AFK. I like the AFK thing in RuneScape 4. That's one of the things I like about it more than old school. So, of course, that made me very happy. The next thing they talked about was the combat update, and they say that the combat rebalancing has gone really well. They showed a chart that shows that before the update, Necromancy had 60% usage rate against bosses, while post-com update, it's down to 43%. So, still almost half, but not over half. And that was actually crazy to me. Seeing that data was just cemented that, Necromancy was, I don't even know if I could say it was everybody's favorite combat style, but it was certainly the meta. It had become the new meta because Necromancy was just so powerful and so easy to use and so much easier to understand and had way less bloat. So that's just the one that everyone was like, well, this is the one that we're going to use because it's the best one. And now you can see in the chart, the other combat styles have come way up in usage ever since the combat rebalancing update that they did. Again, with the whole thing about friction, players are trying the other combat styles again, and there seems to be a lot less friction happening in those combat styles. And I think that's the thing. The reason people liked Necromancy so much, I think, is because that skill had a lot less friction. It seems like it's really benefiting. In fact, they said players are attempting more bosses to experiment with other combat styles and not solely relying on Necromancy, which is great. And then Mod Ryan said something really interesting.
Do you think we should be going for a 25%
No,
parity?
it's in any game. There's a good phrase. I'm not going to quote it correctly, but like a balanced game is not necessarily a fun game. And I don't mean that in the sense of if we had all styles equally 25%, what are we trying to achieve there?
And so I think what he meant by that is what I said before, that a lot of this is vibes. And if you're not a vibes person, you might be like, no, it's data. It's code, it's numbers. You're right, on a technical side, that's how they actually make these things happen, is they write code and they have all this data and stuff like that. But I think what Mod Ryan is trying to say is that to properly quote-unquote balance combat does not mean all the numbers are balanced behind the scenes. What he's saying is they feel balanced to the player. And he's saying if you just put the same number in, 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%, that won't actually feel balanced to the player, and it'll feel off. And so they have to keep that in mind when they are doing the balancing behind the scenes. He also said combat is a forever project. There's always things to change, which, is a good thing to hear from live service developers, that they are thinking we will never have arrived, right? They will never get to a point where they're like, combat is perfect and we will never change it again. The next thing they talked about was the daily scape overhaul, which I will definitely be making a video about because I missed this change when I was on my brief month hiatus from YouTube. But the daily scape overhaul happened last month, and Mod Ryan was talking about the thought process behind this, and he was saying that they want the player to play the game their way and do things they want to do, not do things they have to do. He says he doesn't want you to feel like you have these chores that you have to log in and do before you can actually have real fun or get to the thing that you actually really want to do. And he actually said something that I think is really interesting from a developer standpoint and kind of goes against, I think, what other live service games are doing.
We want RuneScape to be different to other games in this space. We want you to, like I say, do what you want. There's no laundry list of tasks to do or encourage you to log in every day to do these tasks. If you want to log in today to play the game because it's exciting to play, it's exactly where we want it to be. If you want to take a break from the game, that's also okay. And that's really what Dayscape was focused on.
To me, that's really, really player focused, which seems to be the new way that Jagex is handling RuneScape 4, is player focused and not profit focused. Because most live service games want you to play every day, regardless of if you actually want to or not. They want you to feel that pressure of, I really need to log in every day and do this thing or get that login bonus or blah, blah, blah. They want you to log in every day so they can try to squeeze as much money out of you as possible. And I just really like the idea that Jagex is kind of shifting away from that, and they're saying, we want you to log in because you wanted to play RuneScape. And then when you do log in, we want you to get straight to the thing that you wanted to do, not do a list of chores first. So I love that. Ever since they started talking about this change, I've been very on board with it. The next thing they talked about are daily challenges, kind of as a continuation of this talk about Dailyscape. They have not removed daily challenges from the game. And Mod Anvil wanted Mod Ryan to kind of go into why that's the case. And basically, Mod Ryan said that right now they feel like daily challenges are beneficial to new players who aren't quite sure what to do. He said, quote, it's essentially a recommendation system, but I'll say longer term, we do want to remove them from the game. So they do eventually want to remove daily challenges, but they don't want to do it until they feel like they have adequately replaced it with a system that does what daily challenges currently do. And then they will also remove daily challenges as daily content. Then they gave a report about data, like behind the scenes data, and Mod Ryan said that since the removal of Treasure Hunter, they've seen an increase of game sessions go up 10%. And then also, they've seen the duration of those sessions go up 5%. So they are seeing more people log in, but the people who are logging in are staying in the game 5% longer. So I'm of two minds about this. Any of this going up is good, right? An increase in player numbers is good. An increase in game sessions is good. These numbers seem kind of low, but again, going up is way better than stagnating and even better than declining to me. That seems like a low percentage. But I also don't know the percentages and the numbers from before the Treasure Hunter update, so this could be huge for them. I really don't know. But for me, it seems low. Game performance is the next thing they talk about. So they talk about how they see that everybody is concerned about current game performance with some of the additions that they're adding, but also a lot of players are concerned with the idea of increasing the fidelity of all the game assets and what that will do to game performance. And Mod Ryan said that they do want to improve the fidelity of the game assets, but they do want the game to run, quote, exactly as you expect it, end quote. So they are aware of some of these performance issues and they're working on them, but they do still want to find that balance. They want to improve the fidelity of the game, which I think really is something that every game has to do, but they do also want it to continue to run really well on all platforms. And they said they plan on putting a community topic out for players to discuss this issue. So keep your eye open for that. If you want to be a part of that discussion, keep your eye out for that and you can be part of it. All right, now they pivot into upcoming content. So stuff that's coming out in April specifically. And the first thing they talk about is their new approach to seasonal events, because their spring event is out now and they have a new approach to how they're doing these seasonal events. Mod Ryan said that previous seasonal events were, quote, quite grindy, and that their new strategy is to make them less grindy and make them, quote, more pop in and pop out. So the idea is it's not as hard to do and you can just kind of do it whenever. It's more casual, which I really like. They also plan to rebalance the currency gain rate so you can unlock the cosmetic rewards much quicker, which, again, is less pressure to log in all the time or log in every day, and more fun, and you get to those cosmetics, which most people won't see because they have them toggled off, which actually is the very next thing they talk about, cosmetic toggle updates. So they're going to make an update to the cosmetic toggle, and when they were talking about this, I was like, oh my gosh, what are they going to do? I love the cosmetic toggle. Don't take it away. Don't take away my cosmetic toggle. But no, they're not. They are now adding the ability to toggle on or off other players' familiar overrides. So basically what they were talking about is that part of their decluttering initiative is other people's familiars or pets, because a lot of these familiars, they have all these effects or they're very eye-catching and they're just all over the place. It can just be just noise from a player's perspective, just all this clutter. Like they said, they're not going to make familiars invisible, but they're going to make them less visible. The next thing they talked about is an upcoming community topic, which is graphical rendering fixes. So they said that over the last few years, players have pointed out issues with how their assets are rendered, and this upcoming blog will discuss that. They'll show the progress of moving away from, quote, overly shiny assets. They'll be adjusting many of the textures to look more real and less plastic. And they'll be making some of the washed out colors more vibrant again, which I love. I love vibrant colors. I have another quote here from Mod Ryan. He said, quote, "We want to nail the visual aesthetic we've always wanted, and we know the players have been asking us for." So again, keep your eye out for that. That's coming out in April. The next thing they talked about was the aura overhaul. So through multiple blog posts and community discussions, the devs have narrowed down the changes and improvements that they want to make to this system, and Mod Ryan even stated that he'd like the aura system to eventually be a thing of the past entirely, which is, I think, the first time we've heard that. I think up to this point, they've only said that they want to make major changes to it, maybe remove a lot of the auras, but I think this is the first time we've heard somebody say that eventually they want them to be gone. I don't care if they go away. In fact, I'm kind of all for it. I think the aura system is like DailyScape, where I felt pressured to do it, but I didn't want to. And Mod Ryan pointed out something interesting. He said that this is one of the last big removals, as the rest of the Road to Restoration and other planned content will be additions or upgrades to the game. So this is one of the last big things that they're just taking away as part of the Road to Restoration. And moving forward, it'll be mostly just adding things or just upgrading things. And then he has a really cool quote that I wrote down that I wanted to read. He said, quote, "Fundamentally, we want to make a fun game for the next 25 years, and that is made up of solving some core design problems, which in some cases can feel like we're taking things away, but equally adding appropriately back." So that's pretty cool. Auras are going away. I'm all for it. But I know some people aren't all about that. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. If you don't think it's a good idea, let me know why in the comments, because I'm all for it, but I'd love to hear more discussion and more arguments about why it might not be a good idea. The next thing they talked about, I'm so excited about this, the player avatar update. they're not going to be actually releasing the new player avatar in April, but they are going to be giving an update, probably a look behind the curtain. They didn't say that, but my guess would be they're going to show us a little bit more, because they've really not shown us anything about the new player avatar. And they might not in April. They might not, but I feel like if you're going to have a whole update dedicated to the player avatar that you're talking about in advance, it makes me think that you are going to actually show some actual footage of the new avatar. But again, they didn't say that in this video. That's just my guess. But they did mention that they want the graphical and rendering changes to be completed before the new avatar comes out, because when players see the new avatar, they want to see it in the context of what they want the game to look like, because the new avatar is going to fit that design principle. So they want those updates to come out first before people get a look at the new avatar. Mod Ryan also let it slip that there will be a beta that some players can participate in. It seemed like he wasn't supposed to say that, but then they left it in the video, so I don't know. But he said that there will be a beta that some players can play so that they can actually see the new avatar, and I assume play your character with this new avatar in this beta and take it for a test run. I will be keeping my eyes out to be part of that beta if I can. I don't know how open it'll be, but I will keep my eyes out for that. And I'll keep you guys posted if I find anything else out about it, because I would love to be part of that, because I'm really excited about this update. So that's really the last thing they talked about. So here are my final thoughts about this. I love the core design pillars they mentioned up top. I love it, love it, love it. Those core design pillars to me are going to make this game one of the best live service MMO games out there. And I already loved it, right? But it did have major problems. And those major problems were preventing other players from joining the game that I loved so much. So I am so happy that they're making these changes. I love the core design pillars, and I think they are exactly what this game needs. And I also think that every update they mentioned in this video fits those design principles. And really, there's nothing here that I hate. The only thing that I am kind of iffy on is the data that they presented. And like I said, it just seems like a 10% increase in players seems really low. But again, an increase is an increase, so I guess it is good news, but it just seems kind of low to me. So I hope that goes up this year as they add more things. I'm most excited about the avatar update, and I will be talking more about that on my channel. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to be talking about why I think this update is important, because some people have said, why do we need to do this? Does it even matter to update the avatar? Spoilers, my answer is yes, as you probably could have guessed. But I will be talking about why I think it's important, and I will be talking about any new pieces of information they give us about the avatar update, because I'm super excited about that. Something that Mod Ryan said in this video really caught my eye, and I love this quote. He said, quote, "There's no better time to play the game than right now, and I'll keep saying that every time we release a new update because it will continue to be true," end quote. And I wholeheartedly agree. And I am so excited about these changes, and I hope you are too. And if you're not, please let me know in the comments, because I'd love to keep this discussion going, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I really am excited. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really, really appreciate it. And please leave a like if you like this video. It really does help. It shows the YouTube algorithm you like what I'm doing here, and it shows my video to more people. The link to the original video is in the description if you want to watch it. And if you want to see my reaction to their recent combat update, check out this video. Until next time, have fun playing RuneScape, everybody. Bye!